Three different parts of the government are quietly making decisions about your money right now, and almost nobody realizes they don't always talk to each other properly. What if I told you that the payment you're expecting, the tax you think you owe, and the support you assume you'll get automatically are three separate stories and one of them could catch you off guard? This is not just an update. This is something worth paying very close attention to. Right now, three different systems, the state pension, HMRC, and the DWP, are all shifting at once, and almost no one is looking at how they connect. Stay with me, because understanding how these three pieces fit together is exactly what protects you from the gaps that fall between them. Before we go any further, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this is the place where confusing government updates get broken down calmly, clearly, and honestly, so you always know exactly where you stand. Let's start with what is actually happening, because this isn't one single announcement. It's several moving parts, and the full picture only makes sense once you see how they overlap. I want to walk you through this slowly, because the connections between these updates matter just as much as the updates themselves. The first thing to understand is where your money is actually coming from, and it might surprise you that it isn't just one place. The state pension itself is paid by the DWP, the Department for Work and Pensions, but the moment your income touches anything to do with tax, HMRC steps in separately, using its own systems, its own thresholds, and its own timing. These two organizations don't always move in sync, and that gap between them is exactly where confusion tends to live. Here's where things start to get serious. This July, the DWP has confirmed the rules for this year's winter fuel payment, and there's a detail buried inside it that a lot of pensioners are going to miss. Most eligible pensioners will receive either £200 or £300 if they're over 80 automatically, without needing to apply. That part sounds simple enough. But here's the twist. If your total income is above £35,000 a year, HMRC will quietly claw that payment back, either through an adjustment to your tax code or through a self-assessment return, depending on how you're normally taxed. So the DWP gives it to you automatically, and HMRC can just as automatically take it back later through a completely different process on a completely different timeline. Two departments, one payment, two different outcomes, and if you're not watching both sides of that equation, it can feel like the money simply vanished for reasons you never fully understood. And this is what most people are not being told. If you don't want that payment at all, there's a specific window to opt out, and it closes in September. Miss that window, and the payment will be issued regardless, only to potentially be recovered from you later through the tax system. For some people, that's a completely manageable minor adjustment. For others, especially those closer to that £35,000 threshold, because of a private pension or additional income, it can mean an unexpected reduction buried quietly inside a tax code change many months down the line, long after the original payment has already been spent. But wait, it gets even more surprising. Alongside this, warnings have gone out about scam messages specifically targeting pensioners around winter fuel payments, texts and emails pretending to be from the DWP, asking people to click a link or confirm their bank details to claim their payment. Here's the one detail that instantly separates a scam from the real process. The genuine winter fuel payment is automatic. There is no application link, no bank detail confirmation, no urgent countdown timer. If any message asks you to act quickly to claim it, that single detail alone tells you everything you need to know. Now, this could affect your future in ways you didn't expect, because underneath all of this, your actual state pension payment is going through its own quiet shifts too. This July specifically contains 5 Fridays instead of the usual 4, which means some pensioners, depending on their exact payment day, will receive 2 state pension payments within the same calendar month. It isn't extra money, and it isn't a bonus. It's simply 2 regular payments landing close together because of how the calendar falls this year. But if you don't understand why it happened, it can quietly distort your budgeting, making the following month feel unexpectedly tight by comparison. Just when people think they understand this, they miss one key detail. The state pension age itself is also shifting right now, moving gradually from 66 to 67, phased precisely according to date of birth. Some people who built their retirement plans around turning 66 are discovering their actual claim date sits a few months later than they assumed. This isn't a future change to prepare for. It's actively happening this year, and if your plan was built on the old assumption, it's worth checking your exact date again. And here's a detail that connects directly back to HMRC. If you were self-employed at any point between 2015 and 2024, there's a real possibility that gaps or errors exist in your national insurance record from that period. Gaps that could be quietly reducing your eventual state pension, sometimes by a significant amount. This sits entirely on the DWP and HMRC side of the system, recorded quietly and never flagged to you directly. It only becomes visible if you actively go and check it yourself. So how do all of these pieces connect? And more importantly, what should you actually do about it? This is where it becomes simple and genuinely manageable once you break it down piece by piece. For the winter fuel payment, know your income relative to the £35,000 threshold. If you're close to it or above it, expect a tax code adjustment or a self-assessment entry later this year, rather than being surprised by it. If you'd rather not receive the payment at all, mark the September opt-out deadline now, because once it passes, the payment will be issued regardless. For scam messages, remember one rule and hold on to it firmly. The real payment never requires you to click anything, confirm anything, or apply for anything. If a message asks you to act urgently, that urgency itself is the warning sign. For your state pension payment dates this July, check your specific payment day, understand whether you fall into the double payment group, and plan your monthly budget with that timing in mind, rather than assuming it's extra income. For the shifting state pension age, look up your exact date of birth against the current phased schedule directly, rather than relying on the number you originally had in mind. And for your national insurance record, particularly if you had any period of self-employment between 2015 and 2024, request your state pension forecast and review it carefully. If a gap exists, voluntary contributions can, in many cases, still correct it, protecting the pension you eventually receive for the rest of your life. Here's the relief in all of this, and I want you to really hold on to this part. None of these updates are things happening to you without a way to respond. Every single one of them, the payment, the tax, the timing, the record, has a specific action you can take, and most of them take only a few minutes to check. The system won't necessarily connect the dots for you. DWP handles one side, HMRC handles the other, and the responsibility to see the full picture quietly falls on you. But once you understand how these three pieces move together, you're no longer caught reacting to surprises. You're simply staying informed, one small check at a time. If you've made it this far, now you understand what most people still don't. Not just one update, but how the state pension, HMRC, and the DWP actually connect behind the scenes. This isn't something to glance at once and forget. Check your income against the threshold. Mark your dates. Confirm your record, and don't let three separate systems decide your outcome without you watching closely. Subscribe, stay close, and stay one step ahead of what's coming next.